friends! Today I'm going to be reading you a book called The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. And this is a book by William Kamkwamba. And it's a true story about his life and something that he was able to create and invent by himself. And I hope that I can inspire you to create something to help the earth. This is Earth Week, and you know how much Miss Waite loves to take care of the earth. I'm wearing my shirt from something I did on Earth Day before to help clean up the earth. And while this story, he didn't necessarily build this machine to help the earth, he did it to help his town and the people that live there. But what he did, he created a windmill, and that is something that actually can help the earth. So I thought this would be a great book to kind of inspire you to think of ways that you can help the earth and maybe an invention you can create. Let me read you the back of the book. It says, "The true story of a boy whose great idea and perseverance lit up his home and inspired the world." So I'm excited to read this to you. And before I do, I want you to actually meet the author himself. He wrote the book with the help of Brian Mueller, but this is his true story. So he's going to talk to you about it first.
My name is William Kakwamba, and I wrote a book called The Boy Who I decided to write this so that I can tell people in America that they can do whatever they want to do if they believe in themselves. Most of the stories about Africa are negative stories. I want to share a story full of hope. I like to tell people in the United States, I like from my story, and all you have to do is try. Thank you so much for having me on my in the mountain. I hope you buy it.
So here's the story, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. In a small village in Malawi, where people had no money for lights, nightfall came quickly and hurried poor farmers to bed. But for William, the darkness was best for dreaming. He dreamed of building things and taking them apart, like the trucks with bottle cap wheels parked under his bed, and pieces of radios that he'd crack open and wonder, if I can hear the music, then where's the band? His grandpa's tales of magic also whispered in the pitch black of his room. Witch planes passed through the window while ghost dancers twirled around the room, as if 100 men were inside their bodies. I'm going to pause there because he is actually starting to remind me of another character we learned about in a book. See if you can make the same text-to-text connection I'm making. Do you think of who it was? Let's keep reading and see if we can figure out who I'm thinking of. At dawn in the fields, William scanned the maize rows for magical beings, then wondered as a truck rumbled past. How does its engine make it go? Pay attention where you throw that hoe, his father shouted. You'll cut your foot off. Wow, he's so curious. For all its power over dancers and flying things, magic could not bring the rain. Without water, the sun rose angry each morning and scorched the fields, turning the maize into dust. Without food, Malawi began to starve. Soon, William's father gathered the children and said, "From now on, we eat only one meal per day. Make it last." In the evenings, they sat around the lantern and ate their handful, watching hungry people pass like spirits along the roads. Money also disappeared with the rain. "Pepani," his father said, "I am sorry. You will have to drop out of school." Now, William stood on the road and watched the lucky students pass, alone with a monster in his belly and a lump in his throat. For weeks he sulked under the mango tree, until he remembered the library down the road, a gift from the Americans. He found science books filled with brilliant pictures. With his English dictionary close by, William put together how engines moved those big trucks and how radios pulled their music from the sky. But the greatest picture of all was a machine, taller than the tallest tree, with blades like a fan. A giant pinwheel? Something to catch magic? Slowly, he built the sentence. Windmills can produce electricity and pump water. He closed his eyes and saw a windmill outside his home. So right now he's reading that book and he's actually visualizing this in his brain. He saw a windmill outside his home, pulling electricity from the breeze and bringing light to the dark valley. He saw the machine drawing cool water from the ground, sending it gushing through the thirsty fields, turning the maize tall and green. Even when farmers' prayers for rain went unanswered, this windmill was more than a machine. It was a weapon to fight hunger. Magestia Mefupo, he whispered. I will build electric wind. What do you think that means? The windmill was more than a machine. It was a weapon to fight hunger. Think. In the junkyard, pieces appeared, like rusted treasures in the tall grass. A tractor fan, some pipe, and bearings and bolts that required every muscle to move. Tonga, he shouted at the birds and spiders, holding up his prize. But as William dragged his metals home, people called out, That boy is Masala. Only crazy people play with trash. Maybe now you're starting to think about that text-to-text connection I'm making. Can you think of another character who was trying to create something by going around town? Keep thinking, we'll check in at the end. After many weeks, William arranged his pieces in the dirt. A broken bicycle, rusted bottle caps, and plastic pipe. Even a small generator that powered a headlight on a bike. For 3 days, he bolted, banged, and tinkered, while chickens squawked and dogs barked, and neighbors shook their heads saying, What's Masala doing now? His cousin Geoffrey and his best friend Gilbert soon appeared. Muli Bwanji, they greeted. Can we help with electric wind? Grab your pungas and follow me, he said, and took them into the forest. Together, they swung their sharp blades into the trunks of blue gum trees, then hammered them together to make the tower. Standing atop, William shouted, Bring it up! While the boys tugged and heaved. A crowd gathered below and gazed at the strange machine, that now leaned and wobbled like a clumsy giraffe. Some giggled, others teased, but William waited for the wind. How do you think he's feeling right now? Finally has his machine together. He's waiting and waiting, but people are starting to tease him. Like always, it came. First a breeze, then a gusting gale. Gale's a really big wind. The tower swayed and the blades spun around. Now he's going to find out, does his machine really work? What do you think? With sore hands, once slowed by hunger and darkness, William connected wires to a small bulb, which flickered at first, then surged as bright as the sun. Tonga, he shouted, I have made electric wind! Wachita Bwina, a man yelled. Well done! As the doubters clapped and cheered, William knew he had just begun. Light could not fill empty bellies, but another windmill could soak the dry ground, creating food where once there was none. Majestia Mepo, electric wind, can feed my country, William thought. And that was the strongest magic of all. So I'm going to pause before I read you more information about William, but I want you to see if you can make the same text-to-text connection I made. Were you thinking of another character from another story who went around town, he found things, he had an idea in his head, and he didn't give up, he kept persevering? Yes, I was thinking of Kondi from Galimoto. Do you remember this book? Just pulled it up to show you. So in Galimoto, the character was also walking around, looking for supplies, trying to build something that was in his brain. And he kept trying and he didn't give up, and he was able to build that toy for himself at the end. So here's your challenge. I want you to take a look at this paper, and we're going to see if we can create our own Earth Day inventions this week. Trying to feel inspired, like William was in The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. Can you think of a problem that you could solve that would make the Earth healthier? Think about the problem and write it here where it says define the problem. Now, you can ask your family to print this paper for you, or you could just make your own paper. You don't have to copy it down exactly. You could draw a picture of your design here, including any important labels. Remember, you could draw a line and write the word to label your picture. Can you think of a name for your invention? And here's the big part. How does your invention solve the problem? So in The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, the problem was that in Williamstown, there was a drought. There wasn't enough rain, so none of the crops were able to grow. The food that they were growing, they weren't able to. And then they weren't able to eat. It was also a problem that the town didn't have light. So once it was dark, it was dark. They didn't have light bulbs or electricity to power the town. So William's solution was that he found this design for a windmill and he figured out how to make one himself. It's not exactly the same way they might make a windmill here because he used old things like scraps. I see part of a bike tire in there. He used old wood, old fan blades. So he had to be really creative about solving this problem with things that were available to him. So I want you to think about a problem and how you can solve it. Right now, you're going to sketch your design, you're going to write how your invention would solve the problem, but the real challenge is I want you to see if you can build it. Can you create something to solve a problem? Good luck. I can't wait to see it. If you do this challenge and you're able to build something, I would love to see a picture of it that your family could send to me. So good luck. Be creative. And if it doesn't work the first time, keep trying and trying and trying. Never give up. Just like William did, you're going to need some perseverance, okay? Good luck.